in a world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad, you'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by Movies Merica.
Could never be won. They gave me a number and they murdered Valjean when they chained me and left me for dead, just for stealing a mouthful of bread.
Whoops. Wrong Hugh Jackman movie clip. Sorry. Roll that intro. Hey, all you beautiful movie-loving people out there. Live from a red carpet somewhere, surrounded by celebrities. This is the Movies Merica podcast with Van Ebert, where movie reviews meet cold brews. Van will review your favorite and maybe not so favorite movies while enjoying some ice-cold beers and saying cheers. Now let's head into the theater and join our illustrious movie reviewer du jour, who's no doubt got the beer ready to pour, Van Ebert. Hey everybody, thanks a lot for joining this latest episode of Movies Merica podcast. Yes, come on in. You are welcome. Don't hesitate for a second to sit down, relax, kick up your feet. Mi casa, su casa. Yes, all right. Well, this week at the box office, at the movies, is about as barren as like a Southwest Texas desert, okay? And so we are going to go back in time to a beloved movie of mine, a beloved Hugh Jackman movie, and it is his swan song as Wolverine, and that swan song is titled Logan.
Hello? You know you gotta pay for that, right? Hey, come on.
Not okay.
We got ourselves an X-Men fan. Maybe a quarter of it happened, and not like this. In the real world, people die.
Logan.
I don't want to talk about it.
Logan.
Just stop.
Be careful. I need the girl.
What girl?
Go get her.
No. No. No.
And we're down.
She's like you. Very much like you.
I am not whatever it is you think I am.
She needs our help.
Someone will come along.
Someone has come along. This is what life looks like. People who love each other. A home. You should take a moment. Feel it. You still have time.
Now, that is not your typical X-Men movie. That is like X-Men meets Yellowstone or some other Taylor Sheridan project or something. So, but before we tackle Logan here, let's go ahead and I'm just going to take care of a little crucial information, okay? So, as I'm sure most, if not all of you know, these episodes are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many other fine platforms that you find your finer podcasts on, of course. And then if you're on Apple Podcasts, feel free to zip on down to the very bottom of all the episodes and check out those groovy 5 stars. And give it 5 stars there if you would. That'd be absolutely fantastic if you would do that. Absolutely. So, and then, yeah, while you're down there, there's a write a review button. You can just click on that and, give me like a quick review. Hey, I mean, truth is appreciated. If you see some area of improvement for me, you got any suggestions on how I can make it better, hey, I'm open to it. Or if you just want to just gush over me, you just want to just shower me with praise and love and sugar, that's totally cool as well. I will allow that. I will. Okay. And also, I'm also on Twitter and Instagram under Movies Merica. If you want to, get into my DMs there and reach out to me that way, I put posts out there and stuff like that out there. My little ramblings. But you can reach me there as well. If you want to let me know of a movie you want me to review, something like that, or how I have deeply wronged you in some way. I transgressed against you or something like that, and you're coming to me for vengeance. Well, then you can reach out to me on social media. Do Twitter and Instagram under Movies Merica. Okay, so then also, before I get into Logan here as well, as you all know, this is the home where movie reviews meet ice cold brews, and the ice cold brew for today it's nothing exotic, it's nothing rare. It's not a Chateau Lafite, 27. It's not some rare wine or anything like that. No, it's my go-to. It's my best bud. It's my kimosabe, my compadre, Dos Equis. Yes, Dos Equis that you see anywhere and everywhere for good reason, because it's just awesome. And so Dos Equis out of Mexico. Yes, and so I am going to take a little swig of this here Dos Equis. And with that, let's get into Logan. Absolutely. Okay. So as I kind of touched on earlier, this is Hugh Jackman's, or was Hugh Jackman's, last outing as Wolverine. So at the time that this movie came out, I mean, he had been doing the Wolverine thing for close to 20 years. Hugh Jackman was getting close to 50 years old. He was like, I'm time to hang up the sideburns, and move on to other things. And admittedly, I love Hugh Jackman, but he really hasn't done much of anything successful ever since this movie. I think he did some political movie about him playing, or he played Gary Hart. Sorry. Got to doze off there for a second. What else he did? I think. He did The Great Showman. I think right after this. That one. That's very forgettable. Turns out it wasn't so great. Yeah, and so I know he's got some other projects coming up here too. But his last good movie. As a matter of fact, this movie is an awesome movie. Logan. Was Logan. Okay. So. But yeah, this was his last run as Wolverine. So since he'd done it for almost 20 years. And, he decided to have his swan song as Wolverine get directed by a director that had directed him in a previous Wolverine movie. So James Mangold is who directed Logan. And James Mangold had also directed the movie called The Wolverine earlier. And that movie was kind of so-so. It started out promising. I thought the whole concept of how Wolverine earned himself a friend, in Japan, who later ended up being like a very powerful, Japanese Yakuza mafia leader. He earned himself, a friend, or he made himself a friend. When he saved this Japanese soldier from, being, French fried, during the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. I think he basically took this guy. They got in some pit or something like that, and then Wolverine covered up this Japanese guy, and so that the nuclear blast wouldn't hit him, and so. he earned himself a friend and an admirer. And so I thought that part of the Wolverine was pretty interesting, pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's okay. I like the premise. I like where this movie's kind of bouncing off from. And then, it just fell apart at the end. But that was the Wolverine. And so then James Mangold, he comes back and he directs Hugh Jackman as Wolverine again in Logan. Now, if that name James Mangold sounds familiar, that's because he directed like Copland way back in the day with Sylvester Stallone and Harvey Keitel. He's probably mostly known for Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix playing Johnny Cash and Reese Witherspoon. Some might know him from his movie he did after Logan called Ford v. Ferrari with Matt Damon and Christian Bale. And then he's actually going to be directing the next Indianapolis Jones. He's going to be directing the next Indiana Jones movie. So Steven Spielberg is turning in the whip, and he's handing it off to James Mangold. And so he's going to be doing Indy 5. He also did 3:10 to Yuma, great Western movie. So James Mangold's done some good stuff. He's done some great movies. And with Logan, he hit it out of the park. He brought his more serious sensibilities to the Wolverine lore, to the Wolverine genre. So I was pleasantly surprised. And part of what James Mangold brought to the screen is finally the bloody, violent, visceral Wolverine that we've been looking for, right? I mean, we're talking about Wolverine. This is Weapon X. He goes on berserker rampages and whatnot, and you've only seen like a little part of that, in other X-Men movies, but they've been held back by the PG-13 ratings, and so they can't get, they can't show like what it would really look like, when Wolverine goes on one of his rampages. Well, this movie, it doesn't hold back because it's not handicapped. It's not handcuffed by a PG-13 rating at all. So they tell it the way it really would be, the way that it really would look. And James Mangold, he really wanted to tell this the way it should be told. He wanted it to be this visceral, realistic, bloody, ultra-violent movie because that's the nature of Wolverine and what he can do to people. You piss him off. And he goes all, Weapon X on you. Yeah, it's not going to look pretty. It's not going to look all clean and sanitized for your viewing, like it does in all the other X-Men movies here. And James Mangold, as I understand it, he did have to take a pretty hefty pay cut to get the R rating for this movie. And so he was willing to, put some skin in the game for making this a true vision of Wolverine and Wolverine's last outing. And, part of that bloody violence is the Laura character. So a little bit of the plot here, in case anybody who's listening to this hasn't seen this. And to anybody who is listening to this who hasn't seen this, warning, there's going to be spoilers in this, okay? This movie's been out for, 5 years? So yes, this will have spoilers in it. And so Laura is a little girl character that she is being accompanied. She's traveling with this nurse who rescued her out of this lab in Mexico City. And this lab was run by an American company and run by American scientists, where they were taking babies born to poor Mexican women, where the father was basically the chemical compounds from other mutants, and so they were making mutant babies, okay, or X babies, if you want to call them that. And so it didn't go so well. They were doing all these illegal experiments to make these X babies. And so then they were going to kill off all the X babies from this lab because things weren't going so hot. And these nurses tried to rescue as many kids as possible, so they wouldn't obviously. But anyway, so they tried to rescue as many of these kids as possible. And so this little girl character, this mutant, this X baby, Laura, she was rescued by this nurse, and this nurse is trying to recruit Wolverine to accompany them to North Dakota to this place called Eden, which is supposed to be a safe place up in Canada for mutants, okay? And so now the way the movie plays the Laura character at the beginning is they just make you think like, oh, she's just this side character, this delicate, innocent, unassuming, seemingly little girl. But then suddenly she starts slicing and dicing, okay, and literally taking bad guys' heads off, okay. So I love the fact that they started off with this character. They didn't give you any kind of hint or anything like that. They just like, hey, we're happy to let you just keep thinking like this is just a little innocent little girl, and it's not going to be anything for these big bad guys. They're all automatic weapons and they're flak vests and and they're good big government vehicles. They're going to come up and it's just a little girl. They're going to be able to take this little girl, no problem, right? And then you find out quite the opposite, and it turns out that she is a pint-sized weapon of destruction. Okay, and so like I said, she's literally taking bad guys' heads off and just dishing out vengeance, dishing out violence, and 2 scoops of violence. Right? That is what this girl is handing out, and just going nuts. Because you try to take her down, you're going 6 feet onto the ground. Okay, so and that is Laura. That's the Laura character. And I thought that was just a fantastic part of this movie. And so about Logan himself, Logan is, when you watch this movie, you realize he's losing his self-healing power, because that was one of the powers that Logan, Wolverine, had, is you could shoot him, stab him, blow him up, whatever, burn him, and he would heal up. He would heal up. And so after his Weapon X days, when the U.S. and Canada would send Wolverine off on assassination, missions, and to take out the bad guys, that way. Then they took him and they upgraded him by coating his bones with adamantium, and then giving him the adamantium blades that come out of his hands, of course. And so with this adamantium, it poisons you. Okay, whoever it's in, it poisons them. But Logan has this healing power, right? He heals just fine, and so this adamantium can poison him all at once, but he heals up. So it's not a problem for Logan. I mean, it would kill anybody else, but it's not going to kill Logan. Well, in this movie, for whatever reason, this healing power is wearing off, and so the adamantium poisoning is poisoning him. It's slowly killing him. And also all the haunting, from the ghost of his past has, turned him into an even more pissed off and hopeless character. I mean, you just see that big time in this movie. I mean, think about it. He had to kill Jean Grey. He had to kill another one of his lovers, Merica Yoshida. He's lost most of the X-Men. I mean, he's just a lifetime of heartache. I mean, if you go to the comics, I mean, he had to kill all of his kids, okay, even though he didn't know that they were his kids, at the time. And also, he accidentally kills his own father, even though he doesn't know it's his father. But the comic pretty much implies that this guy is his father, and his mother kills herself because she's heartbroken about how the powers that Logan has, and she thinks he's an abomination. So then she offs herself. And so then Logan, he doesn't remember that right off the bat, but then later on he realizes, he remembers it, and he's got that thought floating around in his brain that his mother killed herself because of his powers. I mean, talk about walking around, like how is that, right? Walking around with that in your psyche, right? walking around with that thought and all those thoughts and all the loss of all the people that that have come and gone from his life in tragic ways. He's walking around with that. Plus, on top of that, he's died multiple times, and he's come back. I mean, what's that do to your soul, right? I mean, that not good things, not good things. So he's definitely a tortured soul. And you know what? My throat's going to be even more tortured if I don't take another tug off this Dos Equis. So bear with me here. A little taste of Mexico there, absolutely. But yeah, it's this movie has all kinds of nice little nuggets in it. It's great to see Dr. Benton, from ER, or I know him probably better as Daryl Soulglow from Coming to America. Yeah, Eriq LaSalle in this. So yeah, Eriq LaSalle, Dr. Benton from ER back in the day. So he's in it. He's got kind of a bit part in it. And it's it's a role that I've never seen him in. I mean, I just think of him as I remember him back as Daryl in Coming to America with the soul glow, Jerry curl on his hair. I mean, and now he's playing a serious farmer and husband in this movie. So that was a blast from the past, absolutely. And also one potentially risky thing that they did in this movie that I think paid off, that I think worked in this movie, is they introduced X-Men comics in this movie. Or let me phrase it better. So we're in a world in the movie Logan where X-Men comics are a thing, right? So, and they even have Logan. He's not reading, but he's kind of looking over a couple of X-Men comics that Laura has. And yeah, he's looking them over, and he's looking them over, and he's like saying, "This is a load." Most of this stuff in these X-Men comics are a load of crap. But I just thought it was intriguing. How they introduce the idea that that there's X-Men comics, and the X-Men in this world were looked upon with admiration and respect at some point, and now, in this world, this year of 2029, as portrayed in this movie, basically all the X-Men are gone. I mean, there's no Statue of Liberty from the X-Men movie in 2000. There's no X-Men from Days of Future Past or X-Men First Class. I mean, Magneto's obviously gone. Storm, Cyclops. I mean, all those. All the X-Men are gone. So, but now the only thing that's left, or one of the only things that are left, is X-Men comics in this to kind of, preserve the legend of X-Men. So, now, one of the things in the movie that they portray in the movie that wiped out X-Men is they keep going back and talking about this incident, this disaster that happened in Westchester with Professor X, Charles Xavier, okay? And so with Professor X, obviously, he's got, his mind powers, and in this movie, he's falling into dementia. So you can just imagine the danger when you've got the world's most dangerous brain, right? Falling into a state of dementia. And so he can't control the power that his mind has. And so a couple times in this movie, it's almost like he goes into some kind of panic mode or something like that. And his mind powers affects everybody around him, in the vicinity of where he's at, to a certain distance, where people can't breathe. I mean, people are just like locked in a state of stillness or stasis, right? They're just like frozen in time, and their breathing capacity is frozen. They can't breathe, or they're struggling to breathe. And so in this movie, they insinuate that there was such an episode that happened in Westchester, New York, and as if you've been paying attention to X-Men, Westchester or Westchester County in New York is where Professor X's school is at, right? And so they talk about this incident in Westchester and how it took out a bunch of X-Men, or 7 X-Men or something like that. So that combined with some other activity, or some other events in the movie, or not in the movie, but in this world, took out the X-Men. Now you find out that this doctor that's been running this lab down in Mexico, he has done something where he's taken some kind of serum or compound or something like that, and he's incorporated it into corn, okay? And more specifically, like corn syrup that they make from the corn that goes into all kinds of food and drink products. And it's secretly been in there, and this compound has this property that will kill X-Men or take away their powers or whatever. Or somehow it gets rid of X-Men. It wipes out X-Men or mutants, I should say. It wipes out mutants. And so that, combined with this Westchester tragedy, has taken out X-Men. And so that's one of the big themes in this movie is pretty much Professor X, Wolverine, and this character Caliban are pretty much it as far as X-Men go. They're the only ones left, and all looks hopeless until Professor X reveals that he has been communicating with this mutant that he's discovered, and this mutant that he's been communicating with turns out to be this absolute machine of death disguised in the body of a little girl named Laura, okay? And that's how it all kind of ties together. Now, one thing I have to say here, and I'm probably in the minority on this, but I have to say Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier or Professor X in this movie, just, I don't know. I thought he was annoying in this movie. So, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it in this movie. Maybe he just kind of has he's just a wee bit of pretentiousness, I think. And he just kind of sounded like a broken record in it. And I don't know. He kind of just slightly annoyed me. I mean, I get why he's in the movie. I just think that they could have written him better, I mean, he was a crucial part of the movie. He had to be in this movie, and his role in this movie was needed. You couldn't have this movie the way it's written without him in it. But yeah, I think they could have written him a little bit better. I thought, so to go back to something positive, I thought it was cool that the fact that there was a couple of scenes here where you really got to see Wolverine go back to, his Weapon X Berserker rage, a mode, okay? Because, there was just, because you don't really see that all that much, or you don't see it the way it should be portrayed in the earlier X-Men movies. Now you get to see, like, what the Weapon X Berserker rage would really look like here. And so, you see at least a couple of instances of that in this movie, and that was pretty cool. And Hugh Jackman, like I said, he's been playing Wolverine for almost 20 years, as of when this movie came out, and he nails it. It couldn't come at a better time, especially at the end of the movie. And so he's he zaps himself, or he injects himself with the serum, that gives you your mutant powers and whatnot, and at least temporarily. And he takes that, he just goes into his berserker rage, and it's just glorious to see it, glorious, absolutely. So, but yeah, and I think like one of the overall things I like about this movie is just this movie has like a seriousness and a weight to it that is just sorely lacking in most superhero movies nowadays. The stakes are so low in most superhero movies nowadays. You just don't. It makes it hard to get emotionally invested in the movie, right? You're just sitting there and you're just watching, bright, colorful images popping and sparkling off the screen, and that is about it. You just don't. Nothing really gets down to your core, right? You don't really feel. You don't have that emotional pull into the movie. And this movie does have that. It has that weight to it. And I really like that. And James Mangold is a good director to bring that out of a movie. And also it has a Western vibe to it. But it also has, I think it has like a 70s conspiracy thriller vibe to it as well. So I really like that. But definitely check out Logan again, as I'm sure most people that are listening to this have seen it. Check it out again. If you haven't seen it by some miracle, well, hopefully you haven't heard all the spoilers here. Hopefully you haven't been listening the whole time. But even if you have, check it out. Check it out. But hey, with that, everybody, as always, thanks a lot for listening. Okay, I appreciate everyone listening here to this Movies Merica episode. I get all emotional just thinking about you guys listening to it. It's awesome. But hey, with that, you know what? Get out there. These movies aren't going to watch themselves. Ciao.
Hey guys, don't leave the video quite yet. Okay, I've got the popo. They're coming after me. And I don't have much time to tell you, but you need to like and subscribe this video right here, down below. It's right down there. It's just waiting. It's waiting for you down there, okay? And make sure you watch these videos over here too. You'll be doing me a big favor. I'll be in handcuffs pretty soon. All right. Thanks for watching.